to be praised in the city.
Here we go. It's time to go temple building from the inside out. Many of us know that physical and mental health play a direct part in spiritual health, but we may not know how to bring it all together. Well, here's your host, Desiree Fletcher Carruthers, as we go temple building from the inside out.
Wherever you go, and I apologize. I realize I have been rattling on for the last 30 seconds and you had no volume, but the mute button is off. You should have volume now. So let's try this again. Welcome to KPOG 102.9, the power of God. I tell you what, technology, most days it is my friend, some days it is not, and usually on the days when it's not my friend, it's my fault. It's user error. So anyway, thanks for joining me again, guys. Sorry we had that little moment of silence. But beyond that, it is a fantastically beautiful day outside, and I want to know, how are you going to spend your day today? Whatever your plans are, I hope you get to spend some of it outside. As for myself, after I finish hanging out with you, I'm going to spend the bulk of my afternoon mowing, and while for some of you, I know that doesn't sound like fun, but I'm actually looking forward to it. You know, I'm going to get the chance to get my vitamin D, I'm going to get a little movement in, and at the end of it all, I'll have the satisfying sense that I accomplished something, and isn't that awesome? I mean, for a lot of us, I know that if you have your little games on your cell phone, I know I have mine. My favorite is Homescape. And my husband calls it an addiction, but, you know, for me, it's a stress reliever. But I also get to feel like I accomplished something. And so that's why I also like to mow, because when I get done, I can look and see my beautifully cut lawn and know that I got something productive done with my day, you know, and it's kind of like the satisfying feeling I am going to have as we wrap up our series on stress and the body. Which honestly, I could go on about stress for several more shows, including, you know, like the best vitamins for stress relief. But I digress. I'm gonna wrap things up today so we can move on to some other topics, and maybe in the future we'll come back to stress. But I think today is going to be a good day to cut this one off, and I've got lots of things that I want to be sharing with you. So we're gonna wrap this up and get to those other items that I think you're going to find exciting, and I don't know, maybe you won't. I tend to find them exciting, but, you know, I'm kind of a nutrition nerd, so the things that I like may not necessarily be entertaining to anyone else. So last Sunday, we took a look at calming foods versus comfort foods as a tool to help us check our stress, put it in its place, and reclaim our health and our joy. And for those of you who are listening, I gave you some homework, which involved writing a list of your stressors and being specific, not just saying my job stresses me, but what specifically about your job stresses you out. And then from there, categorizing your stressors into 2 buckets, giving them a 1 or 2 rating. Is your stress chronic or is it occasional? So the stressors, are you feeling them all the time, or is it just here and there, not very often? And then lastly, identifying the source of your stress. Are you the cause of your stress? Because sometimes, let's face it, let's be honest, we bring stress on ourselves that we don't need to. Or is it truly something or someone else that is causing your stress? And then once you have gotten that all together, you should have what I'm calling your stress accountability list. So if you were successful in creating that list, give yourself a pat on the back. That's awesome. If you weren't, don't sweat it. The purpose of this drill was not to create more stress on something that you didn't get done, but it was to provide you with a tool so you can be intentional about cutting down your stress. Because if you don't really know what is causing your stress, how can we be successful in controlling it? And you have to purposely work at it. If you don't purposely work to manage your stress will manage you. And I have a feeling for many of us out there, maybe it's you in particular, your stress is managing you and not the other way around. So just a little food for thought. If you did not finish that homework project, give it a try. Get out a back of an envelope, piece of paper, whatever it is you have, and just start to jot down notes and keep it in a place where you can add to it. And just see if, becoming more in tune with where your stress is coming from helps you to tackle it and move it out of your life altogether. If not, at least minimize it from where it is now. So food for thought, as I said. And speaking of food, do you remember what calming foods are, which was the focus of last Sunday's show? I can't hear you, but I feel your brain waves coming in, and you are absolutely correct. Calming foods are foods that truly work to soothe and calm you and provide a steady source of energy throughout your day, versus those comfort foods. While they're really tasty and we like them because we think they make us feel better, they're really only a temporary fix. And because a lot of the time, since they're simple carbs and your body's going to just blow through that energy, they're going to wear off really quickly, leaving you with an energy crash and other side effects like inflammation, which we know is bad. Inflammation is at the root of many health problems and diseases. Also weight gain, and possibly feeling even worse than when you started eating them. Believe it or not, studies are starting to show that comfort foods or the simple carb-laden junky foods can actually leave you feeling more sad than you were when you started to eat them. Okay, so keep that in mind the next time you're feeling blue and you reach for that carton of ice cream or donuts or whatever it is that you have as your comfort food of choice. Calming foods are the way that we want to go to help reduce our stress and just improve overall health. So as you can guess, calming foods are probably, pretty healthy foods, right? Some of the calming foods that we talked about were asparagus, avocados, two of my favorites, the berries. So blueberries, we know those are rich in antioxidants. They're great for a lot of things. But, also strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, all of your berries are rich in vitamin C. And vitamin C helps reduce both the physical and psychological effects of stress. And it also works to boost the immune system and reduce your cortisol levels. So good stuff there. Nuts, several kinds of nuts, cashews, almonds, walnuts, they all work to bring you those complex carbs in your system, which help to boost serotonin levels. And they're easy. Great snack. You can grab a handful, pop it in your mouth. The thing to remember with nuts, as with any of these calming foods that we've talked about, is moderation is always key. And nuts are high in fat, natural fat. So you don't just want to keep throwing in handful after handful of nuts. Take a few, have a snack, tide you over, all of those great benefits of complex carbs, but don't just go overboard with those, because too much fat, even good fats like you would get in nuts and walnuts, is going to impact your body the same way. And we don't want to gain weight while we're stressed out and feeling bad, because that's just going to make us more stressed out and feeling worse. So we want to keep those, keep our munching habits in check. Teas, chamomile tea, black tea, green tea, all great for that relaxation response that we're looking for when we're wanting to reduce stress. Here might be a fan favorite, and maybe it's not a fan favorite, because dark chocolate, it's one of those foods that you kind of need to build a taste for if you don't already have a taste for dark chocolate. But dark chocolate is on our calming foods list, and in fact, there is a growing number of studies that show certain elements in dark chocolate, such as antioxidants called polyphenols, that these have positive effects on our health. And one study has even shown that test subjects who self-reported they had high stress, after 2 weeks of eating a small piece of dark chocolate every day, they had less stress because their cortisol levels had gone down. So I don't know if that means they had less because they had less stress because they were eating the chocolates, their cortisol levels went down, or those antioxidants actually attacked the cortisol, bringing your rest of your internal system in check, and that stress was just trying to melt away. But anyway, dark chocolate on the list. Sounds like you can have a little bit of it every day, and it's going to help you in those stress levels. So how much dark chocolate? Do you know? Well, I didn't know, so I had to look this up because I'm not really a dark chocolate eater. I'm more into the milk chocolate, which is the chocolate we don't really want to overindulge in. But I'm learning more about dark chocolate. So researchers are saying 1.4 ounces, or between 1 to 2 ounces if you want to spread it out, or 30 to 60 grams is all it takes to help reduce your stress on a daily level. So a little bite of dark chocolate, head out the door. You guys are going to be set. Oatmeal, another complex carb that was on our calming food list. Oranges, sweet red peppers. These are both foods high in vitamin C, and we already talked about the benefits of vitamin C on stress. Eggs were on the list due to their vitamin D content. Pumpkin seeds were also there. So a lot of great foods that you can work into your menu any day. They make snacks. You can include them as part of your recipes, but all of them will work towards helping to reduce stress and stress hormones, mostly the stress hormones, which then will impact your feeling of being stressed, anxious, and or depressed. So just to increase your overall mood, enhance it, I should say, not increase it. That would be different. You know, sometimes my words just get away with me, and when you're on a live radio show, what can you do but roll with it, right? One food that I didn't mention, but that I did receive a listener question about was beets. What do you all think about beets? This listener in particular had heard that beets were also good for stress and wanted to know if this was true. And the answer is yes. Beets are a great calming food. They are high in folate, which we know when you are low in folate or have a folate deficiency, some of those symptoms can play out in feelings of anxiety and depression. So you want to keep your folate levels high, or at least in the normal range, I should say. So beets are high in folate. They also provide betaine, however you want to pronounce it, which is an amino acid that is found in beets. And this amino acid helps to repair cells and decreases inflammation, which is yay, great. Beets are also said to help with digestion and boost liver function. And while my mother absolutely loves these bad boys, I do not. This is not a commercial against beets, because clearly I just said beets are a fantastic food if you happen to like them. I just never have developed a taste for them. But you know what? If they're one of your faves, keep putting them on your plate for all of the many benefits that I just talked about. I was also asked if oatmeal cookies count as a calming food because of the oatmeal. And I had to stop and think about that for a minute, because my knee-jerk reaction was no, oatmeal cookies are not. But I am recanting. I am going to recant on that because I think they kind of could be, depending on the recipe followed to bake those oatmeal cookies. You know, because you're still getting the oatmeal, which encourages the body to release serotonin. And if you're using a recipe that focuses on more natural sweeteners versus cane sugar, then, you know, I can kind of see it. I can kind of see it being a healthier version of a sweet treat that has calming foods on the ingredient list, if that makes sense. So if you're interested, I do have some recipes that I tend to like for a healthier version of oatmeal cookie. I will confess, my favorite version still has the full-blown cane sugar in it, but I do try to do what I can when I can, so I will occasionally make both kinds. So there you have it. There's my taxi cab confession for today. Speaking of oatmeal, I also want to thank one of my listeners, Debbie, for sharing her favorite oatmeal from The Granary. She says these oats are locally sourced in Iowa and milled fresh in their store. They've absolutely blown her away. She likes to eat oatmeal 4 to 5 times a week. So there you go, Debbie. She gets her oatmeal from the granary from Fresh Thyme Market, or actually it's Fresh Thyme Market in West Des Moines. But if you're not in the area or you don't travel to that market very often, you can also order them from factoryfreshoats.com. So I'm going to be checking out that website. I'm not so much into oatmeal as a food. I'm more of a steel cut oats gal. But if they do have a steel cut oats variety, I will check that out, because not all steel cut oats, which I'm sure like most oatmeals, are not made the same. Some have much better flavor. And if you can go organic, and it sounds like locally sourced is always great to support your local markets, try it out. Try it out, because you're probably going to get a more nutrient-dense product that way. So just kind of think of that and consider your options there. Go on an adventure. Try a new source if it works for your budget, and you might be pleasantly surprised. All right, bam! Recap of last week. So I'm going to be moving on from food now, and I want to move us towards some other tools that you can use to help squash stress and reclaim your joy. And a lot of them aren't going to be rocket science. So I hope you're not expecting some total new development or discovery, because that's not what I have for you. But they are tools that we just don't practice. So I think it's good to be reminded of them, and then to challenge yourself to actually put some of these things into play and see how they work for you. So we've talked about how stress works in the body. We've talked about the hormone communication chain, the brain-gut connection. We've talked about foods that can help your body deal with the stress and those hormones. So you're calming foods. And so now we're going to work on some other tools that are more external factors that can help relate to relieve those stressful feelings that you are feeling and cut down on those hormones that you've got going on in there. The first one is the relaxation response. And this is the counterpart to your fight or flight response. I'm just having a heck of a time now. I'm going to start to get stressed out. So your relaxation response occurs when the body is no longer in perceived danger and the autonomic nervous system function returns to normal. So you're no longer having to fear from getting caught by that zombie we talked about a couple of shows ago. You know, another survivor has brought out their crossbow or their sword and they have taken that zombie out. You do not have to worry about getting eaten or turned into a zombie yourself. That's done. That stress factor is out of the way. So now your body is ready to relax. And so during the relaxation response, the body moves toward a state of psychological relaxation where your blood pressure, your heart rate, your digestive function, and hormone levels return to normal. And they actually start working again, because you remember, when you're in protective mode and not growth mode, the only thing your body is focused on is getting you out of danger. And so all of those other functions like digestion, your heart rate, hormones, all of those things, they're not focused on positive action in your body, only getting you out of stress. And when you're in relaxation response mode, your oxygen consumption actually goes up and your brain activity increases as well. So relaxing is definitely key to overcoming stress and regaining that joy. So how do you get the relaxation response? How do you trigger it? Well, there are several different things that you can try, and I'm not going to deep dive into any of them, but take a listen to this list and see if any of it resonates with you. But the first one on my list is prayer. Prayer is phenomenal for helping you get to a state of relaxation, also meditation, yoga, deep breathing, all of these things. And you can pray and deep breathe at the same time. You can pray and meditate at the same time. Some look at prayer as a form of meditation where you're communing with your maker, you're getting off your chest everything that is, stressing you out, that is wrong, that you want help with. And the Bible is very clear. God wants you to share those feelings with him and those emotions. He says he will take your burden. for his yoke is light. He wants you to carry his yoke and just give all of those things up, turn them over to him, not deal with them by yourself. And even if you're not sure how to pray, don't worry about it. Don't let that stress you out or prevent you from actually praying. It doesn't have to be as eloquent as something your pastor does or someone in your prayer group with you that's more vocal and praying out loud. It just has to be yours. God already knows what's on your heart and in your mind. So you just have to pray and share with him what you've got going on. And even if you don't have the words at that time, the Bible is also clear that the Holy Spirit knows what it is that you are wanting to pray and will convey that prayer on up the chain. So, don't let anything or anybody, I should say, hold you back from using that as a tool. So prayer, meditation, yoga, deep breathing, listening to calming music or sounds like ocean waves or wind chimes or rain, whatever it is that helps you to calm down and relax. Essential oils can also be helpful, and progressive muscle relaxation. And this is an exercise where you will tense a group of muscles at a time as you breathe in. So you're tensing your muscles as you breathe in, and then you relax them as you breathe out. And it's very systematic because you might start with your hands and you're tensing those and you're breathing in for, say, a 4 to 8 count, and then you're relaxing them as you're breathing out for that same 4 to 8 count. And then you move to your shoulders and then to your head and to your gut and to your shins and your feet. And when you're done, all of your muscles are in a more relaxed state. So a relaxation response. If you're having a hard time relaxing, several tools to help get you mentally and physically in a relaxed state. In addition to the relaxation response, there are also meaningful relationships. And that's a category in and of itself that I think several of us can work on, myself included. So meaningful relationships, when you have good relationships, can actually help decrease blood pressure and ease the stress response in your life. So how do you work towards meaningful relationships? You have to work to improve them. And again, intentionally work to improve them. Sometimes we just luck into good relationships, and that's just the way they are with your best friend, your spouse. But other times you have to work on them. And that could be with your spouse or with your children, parents, siblings, coworkers, people in your church, friends, whatever that level of relationship is. If it's healthy, it's going to create a better stress response. It won't be stressful. You'll be in a growth mode. But if your relationships are negative, relationship stress not only stresses you out, but any other stressors that you're feeling, it can make those worse because of how you're feeling about any given relationship that you are in. So healthy relationships, as I said, they can help decrease blood pressure and ease your other stressors, which are going to improve your health and diminish even physical pain, which could be a whole nother show. But a lot of times pain that we experience, it's all triggered in the brain, and it may not actually be real, but because it's perceived, the brain will send out communication where you actually feel pain. So in a relationship scenario, you can physically feel pain if those relationships are bad. But when they're good, that pain can go away. The stronger relationships you have, the less anger that's in you, the less sadness, the less anxiety, and thus with all of those negative emotions gone, the better health you're going to have. Okay, so like I said, it's not rocket science. Just some basic elementary stuff, but we don't think about it. If we're feeling down, if we're feeling sick, is it a physical bug? Is it biological, or is it emotional? And how is stress playing into that? Some relationship building strategies that you can practice include spending time together, being intentional about spending time with the people who are important to you, practicing communicating uplifting words of encouragement. Lift people up with your words. Speech is powerful, as well as taking part in those critical conversations that you need to have. For example, apologizing to someone or discussing a serious topic that needs to be tackled, and instead of ignoring it. But getting back to the apology, how hard is it to apologize to someone? Whether you're wrong or not, but especially if you're wrong, it can be very hard. I remember instances, even where I may have gotten to an altercation with one of my children, and we were raising our voices, we were yelling at each other. And even how hard it was for me then to go to my child, because I knew yelling was wrong, but go to them when I knew that, the cause of my stress and angst was because of their behavior, but to go to them and say, you know what, I am sorry, I should not have spoken to you in that manner, and then carry the conversation from there. It doesn't feel right or easy, I should say, but it is the right thing to do. And oftentimes, if you apologize to someone, that opens the door for them to let their guard down, and maybe they'll apologize to you too, and then that stress of that negative encounter is gone, in an instant. A lot of times, maybe not always, but many times, and you guys can move on, and then that relationship can be patched, and you can feel that anger and that mistrust and that hurt then with joy. So taking part in those critical conversations that need to happen, showing respect and appreciation are also ways to help build relationships. And sometimes you need to see a therapist. You need a mediator to help you get past whatever is wrong, so you can work on building positive elements of your relationship. But all in all, work on those positive relationships to overcome stress and move it out of your life. The last area that I want to talk about today is improving your sleep. And I know it's one of those chicken or the egg things, because stress can make you sleep less, but the better you sleep, the less stress you can have. So bottom line, you need to get that stress out of your life. The majority of individuals, myself included at times, we do not have good sleep habits. And when we are tired, we are less patient and more easily agitated, which is also going to work to increase our stress. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. So practicing good sleep hygiene along with stress-lowering tactics can help improve the quality of your sleep, which is what we were just talking about. So kind of ask yourself, take note, what are your sleep patterns? Because we do have sleep patterns. What are they? Are you sleeping through the night? Are you waking up? What is keeping you up if you are waking you up? Can you easily fall back asleep, or is your mind racing? Do you have a bedtime routine so you can get to sleep? Do you go to bed at the same time every day, or are you up and down? Sometimes you get to bed what you consider to be on time. Other times it could be hours later because you're working 12 to 14 hours a week, or you're trying to, get something done for your kids that they have to have for school the next day, or you are, sorry, that's my cell phone. Or you are so stressed out that your mind can't stop racing. Today is not my day, but I'm going to move on with about it. So what are your sleep patterns? What's causing you to stay up? Ideally, you should be in bed by 10 p.m. The best sleeping hours are said to be from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So if nothing else, try to get to sleep by then. And with that, folks, I tell you what, I am still incredibly blessed to be on the air with you today, even when everything doesn't go 100% correctly. So I hope that you all have gotten something that you can take away on how to manage your stress, whether it's food, whether it's relaxation, whether it's meaningful relationships, or, getting better sleep. And with that being said, be ready to be supercharged and tackle a new topic next week. And as I always like to say, your body is a temple, so let's build it.